So 2 years ago, I decided to open my own candle storefront. So I wanted to update you all and tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly about owning your own storefront. So let's get into it. So first of all, I want to get into some things that you may not even think about if you're thinking of owning a storefront, because I definitely didn't think about it myself. And the number one thing I want to talk about is support. And when I'm talking about support, I'm talking about the other businesses in the area, your chamber of commerce, and your city. How do these three things operate? So before you decide to open a storefront, go to some other businesses in the area and ask them about that. Ask them, is your chamber active? Do they put on events for the community? Do we have a Christmas parade? Do we have a fall festival? Do we have a Halloween trick-or-treating thing? These are really important things to know, because if your chamber is not active, that's going to mean you're going to have to spend more time driving your own traffic to your storefront. If you have more support in your community, it's going to be a lot more helpful, especially if you're brand new to owning a storefront. So ask businesses if they support each other. Do they have meetings together? Do they talk to one another? And also ask, how is the community? Does the community actively come out and shop? Those are things you really want to know about the area before you decide to sign a lease to a storefront. The second thing I'm going to mention is community outreach. So when you have a storefront, it's a lot different than online. You're going to have to be a lot more active within your community. So that means you're going to have to go out to events more often. You're going to have to be willing to sponsor local events. So you don't need to sponsor every event or feel the need that you have to give money to everybody. But it is a good idea to sponsor some events, because then, like for instance, if you sponsor a school event, a lot of the parents are going to know about you. The teachers are going to talk about you. It's going to be a lot more eyes on your business. And we always hear when people talk about anything is location, location, location. So I'm going to say this about the location of your storefront. So the first things you want to think about is there a lot of foot traffic? Because really, depending on what kind of business you have, if you're a retail business, you're going to want foot traffic. So there are some businesses where people actually look you up, and maybe that's a dentist. A dentist doesn't necessarily have to have foot traffic because people are willing to drive to a dentist. Now, for something like a retail store, you're probably going to get a lot more sales from foot traffic, from people just wandering around and stuff. So my business is located in our downtown area of my town. Now, my town is very small, so there isn't a ton of foot traffic. So think about that as well. Also, another thing to think about is what hours are you going to be open? So there are some cases where you have to be open at certain times. So if you're going to be in the mall, a lot of malls have it in the lease where you have to be open. Now, this can kind of be a problem if you're like me. I like to be flexible. There are some days where I might close early, or there's some days if it's raining outside, I might not close, or I might not open at all. And that is because I'm in a small town, and it's not out of the ordinary for some of the businesses just to like open 30 minutes later, or open whenever they feel like it, or close if it's a bad weather day. So for me, I have a lot more flexibility than someone who is in like a mall setting where you have to be open and you have to be there all the time. All right, take a look at the demographic of the area. So for me, this is a 100-year-old town. Like, this town has been here for a long time. So a lot of the residents in the town are older people. So look at the products you're selling, look at what you're doing, and then see if it's going to fit the demographic. Or if you're going to move into that area, you're going to have to work with the demographic of that area, because if they don't like what you're selling, then they're not going to come shop with you. All right, number 4 is marketing. Marketing is so different compared to online marketing. So here's some things I learned. I'm looking at my notebook. So get on the local Facebook groups. Before the storefront, I did not really get into local Facebook groups at all. I wasn't even really on Facebook, but local Facebook groups really helped to get the word out of my business. And word of mouth is a big marketing point also I want to make. So a lot of my business is, some people come in and they say, oh, Miss Shirley recommended me to your candle shop, or my mom came here, or my daughter came here. So word of mouth is another thing. So if you think of Facebook also, when it comes to word of mouth, that can be good or bad. So I have seen some bad stuff on my local Facebook about other businesses. If you are not conducting business in a good manner, if you're not meeting satisfaction, the town will talk about you on Facebook, especially if you live in a small town. So luckily, I have not had any negative responses on Facebook yet, but I have seen it happen, and it can really hurt businesses. Facebook can make or break your business, honestly, especially if it's local Facebook. So you really want to make sure you're being good with the community and doing the right things and not making anybody mad. So be aware of that when you open a storefront. And I will say there's going to be a lot more pounding the pavement as far as marketing goes. So wherever I go in town, I introduce myself as the person who owns Winding Wick Candles on 6th Street. And sometimes in town, people call me the candle lady. So that never happened before when I was selling online. I never had to worry about what other people thought about me in town. But when you do have a storefront, you're opening yourself up to a lot more people, I guess, locally. So you have to conduct yourself differently in town. So with that, I have learned to be outgoing. So I'm not a big introvert. I am I will say I'm like 50% introverted. I don't mind talking to people or starting conversations. And I will say with the storefront, you are going to have to be a lot more outgoing than if you just had an online store. Some more marketing tips is mail. So this is one that I'm thinking of trying out, is doing little mailers. I actually got a sample pack from the Valpak company about putting like postcard mailers in people's mailboxes. And then I'm thinking of going with USPS, but you can reach people through mail, also having them in local mailboxes, pointing out what services you offer, the unique selling points of your business. So that's another way that you can market your storefront. So the last thing I want to mention about marketing is the other businesses in the area. If you get to know the other businesses, you can refer each other back and forth. If so-and-so has really good antiques, or if this person has coffee, or this person has really good leather boots, you want to actually patronize all of the other stores in town so that you can talk to them and tell them what you have to offer, know what they have to offer, and then you will start to see people recommending, customers to you, and then you can return the favor back and forth. So again, this goes with being a lot more outgoing, but it's a good thing to actually get to know the other businesses in town. And again, you can join the local chamber of commerce to make that easier for you. All right, so another thing I want to mention is overhead costs. Oh my God, this is something that it's crazy. Overhead costs get really insane with running a business. And for me personally, the rent here is not that bad. Right now I'm paying about $1,800 a month, but there are some that's kind of on the low end as far as rent goes. One of my Candlebiz Academy students was renting a place in the mall, and that cost $6,000 a month. So rent can get very pricey depending on where you're going. And then you're going to have to also think about electricity. If you're in a big building, it's going to cost a lot more to heat and cool it. So those are things you really want to think about, is those overhead costs. And I know that's a big one when it comes to leasing a space, but some other things I mentioned here too is businesses get charged more is one thing I noticed. Even for internet, for some reason they have residential internet and business internet. I literally live around the corner from my storefront, and the internet prices are different because I'm a business. So a lot of companies will charge businesses more for the same service. So before we move on with the video, I wanted to take some time to talk about my book is coming out pretty soon, and on April 25th, my book is going to be launched and out in the public. It's going to be anywhere where books are sold, in bookstores and online. And if you guys want to pre-order it, you can check out the link below. And also, I've been active on my blog, tianacoates.com. I have some candle label templates that I've made, some really great blog information, and I have been enjoying posting on my blog. So make sure you guys check that out too if you're interested, and join in on the newsletter. All right, let's talk about employees. So employees is another thing that is something that I'm managing and learning, and that is a whole nother job. That's HR. So as a business owner, especially when you're a one-person show, you're gonna have to learn how to manage employees, and that is so much more than just hiring someone. You're gonna have to learn more about, paying them, employee satisfaction, making sure they're good, training them properly, making sure they know what to do, making sure they're not confused, making sure they can comfortably do their work on their own. And then you're also going to have to learn how to have tough conversations, because honestly, as a business owner, that does come up sometimes, and you have to be upfront with your employees. If they're doing something that doesn't align with what, is going on with your business, you're going to have to talk about that. And on the flip side, you're going to have to take feedback and criticism from your employees, you're going to have to ask them, is there something I'm doing wrong? Is there something I can do better? So you're going to have to really get comfortable with that. And having employees is kind of a lot for me. And I've only ever had about 1 employee at a time. And honestly, I cannot imagine having like 10 people. That is just a lot of people that you have to manage. And everyone has this own story about their, personal lives. And sometimes that affects their work. So of course they have to tell you. So you're going to have to be very comfortable, and you're going to have to maybe even take classes or courses on how to become a boss. So that is one thing to think about. And I want to say there are some pros to having a storefront. So let me get into it. The first thing I really like about having a storefront is the community aspect. I have met so many cool people around town, and that is so much fun for me, just seeing familiar faces. There are some people who come in here regularly, even younger kids who are in school. There's a couple of young kids that come in here just to talk, or when they see me around town, they'll say hi to me. So I have really loved that about having a storefront, is the community part. Another thing that I really like is building something unique. Like, it's so much more different than having just an online store. This is a physical place that you are turning into something that people can come into and look around and touch things and pick it up and look at the decoration. So that's one thing I really enjoy too, is kind of merchandising the store. That does take money. that goes with overhead. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword for me. I like merchandising the store, making it fun, unique, but on the flip side, it does cost a lot of money to fill up the store. So it is something that I like doing. And if I had more money, I would do it even bigger. So that is one thing I do really like. Another thing about having a physical location is I find that people take you a little bit more seriously when you have a storefront. So when I do interviews or anything, and if I mention I have a storefront, that's something that they always put into the article. And I just noticed that having a storefront does also open you up to like more grants. I haven't personally gotten a grant yet, but there are a lot of grants out there that cater to people who have a storefront. And of course, having storefronts is a big part of the economy, and also online businesses as well as part of the economy. But storefronts also, that you paying taxes, you're improving the town in a sense. So you do get taken a little bit more seriously with the storefront. Another thing I really enjoyed is I have learned so much in the past 2 years that I've been here that I did not know before. So I have learned some really valuable things about opening a storefront: the costs, the procedures, the equipment you need, the permits, how to work with the town. I have learned so much. So that's one thing I've really loved also. And again, I'm located in a small town, so it's really nice just to have a small town little store and something I can just walk to. And that has just really made this whole thing really special for me. If this would have been in downtown Dallas, I think it wouldn't have had the same vibe for me. So I really love that this is just a small town little location. So with all that said, how do I feel about running a storefront for the past 2 years? This might be a little surprising for you, but I've been in this group coaching program with my good business friend Malaysia Harell. She started this coaching program, and I'll leave her information down below if you're interested. But she is just such a great person when it comes to mindset, and I have just been taking her. I've taken a lot of her classes and stuff in the past too. So we were in this group coaching program, and we were talking about how do we want to see our lives, or what's our ideal day? If I want to do something, I'm going to carve the path to do it, right? So I feel like this whole time I've really kind of done that ever since my late 20s, before even starting a candle business. The whole reason for the candle business is because it was part of my path that I had carved out for myself. I wanted to get married, have my child, be home during the week, only work on the weekends. And I did all of that. And now with the storefront, I'm like, I don't know if I want to be here every day. I want flexibility. My son is 6 years old, and I'm just thinking, he's only young once. And today I'm missing out on this camping trip because I have to be here. So I'm wondering, if there's other alternatives to how I run a storefront in the future, or different ways of doing things, because I want to be able to just pick up and go, just like I used to when I had an online store. I could just pick up and go whenever, or I could work at 11 p.m. if I wanted to and take the day off to hang out with my son. So I've really been thinking about that and seeing what I could do in the future to kind of accommodate what I want my life to look at. I want more flexibility, like time to travel, time to be with family. I wanted to interject really quick and give you more information on what I think I want to do when my lease is over at this location. So I'm almost 90% sure that I don't want to continue at this location, just because I know the landlords are going to raise up my rent. And at this point, it's not going to be worth it if they raise up my rent. Secondly, so I've been thinking more about what I want to do. So when I first got this place, I had no knowledge of anything. I had no business friends in town, but since being here, I've gotten to know a lot more people, and now I have a lot more options on where I can go, even if I want like a little warehouse or whatever. But one option is there is a lady who is right across the street from me, and she owns an antique shop, and then she has a separate like workshop space in the back. I didn't know this when I first moved here, but she has leased that space in the back before. So I could literally have a workshop area right across the street for like a third of the price. So I'm kind of racking my brain on what I'm going to do, and I'm still not for sure yet after the lease ends where I'm gonna go. So it really all depends on how this year goes for me as far as growing my online stuff. So that's really why I've been focused on online selling so much, because I want to grow my online sales. And then we're going to really determine what space I need from there. If it's going to be a workshop, a storefront, blah, 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 I don't know. So I just wanted to kind of give you more information, if that even really was information, on my thoughts on, where I'm going to go after my lease ends. But that's kind of my update on the storefront. I really wanted to be real with you guys. I've had people even message me and say, I got a storefront because you inspired me and stuff like that, which is, I think, is amazing. But I just wanted to also be super real and let you guys know the good, the bad, and the ugly about having a storefront. So hopefully that information helps you out. Please leave any comments down below if you have any questions about opening a storefront. And also don't forget to go to tianacoates.com, check out my blog, and also pre-order my book down below, because I worked really hard on that book. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.